if you're looking for a high-end gaming PC build, you came to the right video because I'll show you the best PC build that you can get for $2,500. Well, it's actually a little bit cheaper than that. So if you have a budget between $2,300 all the way up to $2,500, I think this one is going to be the best PC that you can get right now for gaming, and it's also going to be great for video editing and multitasking. Now, there's a gaming PC for everyone. Maybe you want a Prebuilt gaming PC because you don't want to build it by yourself. Maybe you want a cheaper PC build, a more expensive PC build, a cheaper Prebuilt PC, or a more expensive Prebuilt PC, and that's why you will have a bunch of different PCs in the description. And if you can't find the right one for you, don't worry, because that's what my channel is about. I talk about computers in every single video, so if you're interested in getting your first computer, please subscribe to the channel and support it. It will mean a lot. Now, without more to say, let's start with the video. So we have a PC build that's actually going to be great for 4K and 1440p streaming, gaming, and video editing. That's actually $2,376, and in my opinion you can even go cheaper on this one. I will explain why in a second, but now let's break down the components. For the CPU, I went with the i7-12700K. This one is way more than enough for basically everything, gaming and video editing, but I don't really see the value here. You can even go with the i5-12600K and save more money. I just don't see why you need the i7-12700K unless you're going to do some heavy content creation. Even for 4K gaming, you can get away with the i5-12600K, so ask to yourself first if you really need this processor, because maybe it's too much for your needs. Then for the CPU cooler, I went with the Arctic Liquid Freezer 280 all-in-one liquid cooler. This one is going to be enough for this i7. Maybe you're gonna spend more money on a 360mm all-in-one liquid cooler, but I don't think it's necessary. The only way that I can see the worth of spending more money on a CPU cooler is if you get the i9-12900K, but with the i7 I think this 280 is going to be all that we need, and it's also RGB, so if you're looking for an RGB build, this one is going to be the right one for you as well. And if you're not looking for RGB, you can even go cheaper with these parts. Then for the motherboard, I went with the ASUS Prime 3690 PY5 motherboard. It has great audio, which is going to be important for video editing. It also has Wi-Fi included, and because you get the i7-12700K, you can overclock the processor and overclock the RAM. This is something that it might be really important for some of you. I actually don't see the importance of overclocking, especially for gaming. It's not going to be noticeable in my opinion, or at least for 90% of people, but maybe you find it important, then this is a nice feature to have. Then for the memory, I went with 32 gigs of RAM, 2x16 of 3600MHz CL16 memory. 32 gigs, it's already a lot of memory. Now, I wouldn't go for 16 gigs because you're getting a high-end PC build, but I wouldn't go with 64 gigs either, even for the highest demanding programs. And even if you do some heavy video editing, I think 32 gigs is going to be the sweet spot. Then for the storage, I went with the Samsung 970 EVO, 2TB of M.2 SSD. Once again, I think it's enough, and it's going to be necessary for you at least 2TB if you're going to download a lot of heavy games, or you want to do video editing. You will need to transfer a lot of heavy files. Believe me, as a video editor, you will need at least 2TB. And even if you're going to need it for gaming, if you're going to buy this PC, I'm guessing you're going to play some heavy games such as Warzone, Red Dead Redemption 2, Flight Simulator. So for all of those games, 2TB is going to be the right choice. Then for the graphics card and the most important component for gaming, I went with the GeForce RTX 3080 12 gigs of VRAM edition. It's around $60 more expensive than the 10 gigs of VRAM edition, and I think it's worth the price difference. This one is really similar to that 3080 Ti, so I don't see the point of spending around $200 or even $300 more on a 3080 Ti when the 3080 with 12 gigs is going to be definitely more than enough, and you won't notice a difference even at 4K. In my opinion, from the 3080 to above, let's say the 3080 Ti, 3090, all of those are going to run every single game at 4K at least 60 FPS, even on the highest graphics settings, and they are also going to run every esports title at 1440p or 4K at above 240 FPS. So I don't see the point of overspending your money if you don't really need these components. Then for the case, I went with the LIAN LANCOOL 2 mesh. This one is an ATX mid-tower case, definitely once again more than enough. The airflow on this thing is great, and you will need good airflow for this type of components. It's not that you're getting the GTX 1650 Super, you're getting the RTX RTX 3080, which is a high-end graphics card, so you will need good airflow overall. Then for the power supply, I went with the Corsair 2021 850 watt 80 plus gold power supply. This one, once again, going to be enough, even for future upgradability. Let's say you want the i9 12900K, still going to be enough. But if you want to put something like the 3090 or the 3090 Ti, then I think you want to upgrade to a 1000 watt 80 plus gold or 80 plus platinum power supply. But I think that for this build and also some future upgradability on the CPU, it's going to be enough. And lastly, I added an RGB fan for the back of the gaming desktop because the case comes with 3 fans on the front but 0 fans on the back. So the total price, like I said before, it's $2,376 with 70 cents. If you want something that's cheaper, I will go with the i5 12600K instead of the i7. You can also downgrade the motherboard if you're not going to overclock it to a high-end B660 motherboard where you will save around 40 to 50 bucks. That way you get a gaming PC at around $2,000 that's actually going to perform great at 1440p and even 4K, and you don't overspend your money, especially if you're not going to do some heavy video editing or 3D rendering. So remember that if you're just going to do gaming, the i5 12600K is going to be more than enough, and there's not going to be a huge difference between this i7 and the i5, or at least not a difference that you will notice while gaming. But then maybe you want the best of the best and you have even more money, you want better stuff, then I would actually recommend you upgrading to the i9 12900K, go with a 360 all-in-one liquid cooler and upgrade the power supply to a 1080 plus platinum power supply. And if you even have more money, then maybe go for a 3080 Ti, 3090, but I don't really see the point of spending more money on a graphics card. Of course, everyone wants that 3090 Ti because it's a beast, but if you really don't need it, then you shouldn't overspend your money on this type of components. If you found this video helpful and you have a budget between $2,000 and $3,000 for a gaming PC build, please leave a like and subscribe, but most importantly, hit that bell button so you get notified when I upload this type of content. And like I always say, leave me a question in the comments and I will reply as fast as possible to help you out to find the right PC for you. If you want to play at 1080p or even 1440p, you don't want to get this PC, you want to get something that's lower price, let's say $1,600, and you will save a ton of money for basically the same performance because you're going to have a 1440p or a 1080p monitor. Thank you guys for watching, thank you for the support always, love you all, and I'll see you on the next one.